Alrighty.
All right.
PP.
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 We are good at this.
We're so fucking good, eh?
Yeah.
Nice. Alright, so talking Alsace today. Or tonight.
Alsace.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty cool place, you know? Cold as I like it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're really not inspired, are we, right now?
No, I
We're
mean,
dragging our feet.
So, but you made a comment about your wine, and I'm gonna say I would have the same comment about my wine.
Damn. It's funny because this is probably the first time that I've gotten a bottle of like Alsatian wine that I wasn't like, no, this is delicious. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't tasted it in like 20 minutes, so
I mean, this is what I have is good. It's fun. It's not bad. But this should be that rare episode where we don't say exactly what our bottles are. To not offend anyone.
yeah, that's fair.
Not that anyone's listening to this, but good due diligence.
That'd be funny if we had like
Nothing but
all the
listeners at
major
Alsace.
critics were listening
Yeah.
to this. And it's super influential.
Paul Greg's just out there like, no, I'm a hound for those new hot podcasts.
Those two hot boys.
Yeah.
All that pee-pee talk is getting me
Yeah.
all hot and bothered.
No,
No.
but mine has that weird like overripe melony thing. So I have a Pinot Blanc from 2017, which in theory should just be like, I don't know, Pinot Blanc. This is what I was saying to you the other day. I'm still waiting to have that experience with Pinot Blanc where I go like, oh, this varietal means something to me.
Yeah.
Like I've had better white Pinot Noirs than I've had Pinot Blancs. Because usually that's a product of people being like, oh yeah, something's gone really wrong. We just need to pick this right now when its acid is like wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like Pinot Blanc, almost every time I've had it, I get the sensation that the acid's just not still there. They picked it a little bit late. But
Yeah.
or picked
Yeah.
it when like Pinot would be right, almost.
Yeah, I feel like Pinot Blanc to me is it's everyone's like, oh, it's like the sitting outside drinking hot, no, it's like drinking wine when it's hot out. You know, it's
Yeah, but
always
I want Riesling or Rosé for that.
yeah, but I feel like for me, Pinot Blanc is when it's like really fucking hot.
Yeah,
'cause
but then it would
Riesling-
have to be really fucking cold.
Yeah, that's what I
Why?
mean. Like it's like when I'm at the beach and I want the contrast between like how like the temperature in the air and the water to be almost as great as possible. I mean, there's an exception. Like if the water's too cold, then it like hurts me going.
Yeah.
But if it's like, I don't know, like 100 degrees or something, and then you go in the water and it's like 70 or something,
Oh yeah.
like that's great.
Oh, yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
good. So similarly, I want it to be hot as hell out and this to be like so cold. And it's just fucking just crispy and delicious.
Yeah.
And Riesling's really good too. I mean, I'm never gonna say no to fucking good Riesling when it's hot out.
No.
Anytime really. But I mean, for I guess my ideal like use, or like I feel like that wine's function for me at least is that I'm never really craving something that, because it isn't especially distinct, it doesn't
Yeah.
have like a cool petrol characteristic or lime flower blossom, whatever the fuck, that really cool Rieslings get. It doesn't have like that earthy mushroom thing that Pinot Noirs get. It's just kind of like crisp white wine that can be really good but also can be very decent
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. I'm also getting a weird, like, and this is a sort of tertiary characteristic that I might have just tricked myself into thinking I can actually perceive, but I feel like there were a lot of sulfites thrown at this wine.
How does
So,
that how are you perceiving that, or what does that smell like or taste like to you?
I get, like, it's like a burnt out character. It's like this graininess. It's like when you take a picture in low light, so you get
Mm-hmm.
that noise. It's like noise in some of the flavor components, where you can tell that like there was just something that reacted with the volatile compounds in the wine to suppress them, but you can still tell that it suppressed them at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that sulfur does? Is it just like shuts stuff down and binds it up? And if you hit something with enough sulfur will volatilize out, and there won't really be like impactful sulfur in wine after like 2 years or something, and you won't be able to taste it at all or like tell that it's there. But if the wine got too much ever in its life, then certain things are just never going to recover from that. So
Right.
um
Yeah. So. Oh, yeah. So.
so it's called like sulfur burn is the term for it, and I believe it's something that like people actually I maybe I'm just making all this up, but like I've had wines that I know were made by producers who I know what their sulfur practices are, and they're consistent with wines that I've had that I'm like, yeah, no, this like I wouldn't be surprised if they did this to this, and also
Right.
it tastes exactly that way, where there's just like this washed out sort of like sad character, and this it's not extreme in this. It just feels like some of the clarity of some of the fruit quality is snubbed.
Right. Yes. So yeah, so there's like four noble grapes in Alsace. It's Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Pinot Gris, Pinot Gris, not Pinot Blanc, and Muscat. And then,
Muscat.
Yeah, Muscat's in there, and then I think it's Gentil, Gentil, is if you have a wine that's more than like at least 50% of those like those four grapes in there, then you can label it as Gentil, Gentil, I think. And then there's another one, Eidelsvicker. I forget what that one is. I think that's just another field blend, but I think that has a different like requirement on it or something. Maybe it's just like an arbitrary blend of the four grapes. But then there's other ones. There's like you got a Pinot Blanc. I have a Sylvaner here, and Auxerrois is one, and then there's another one. I mean, those aren't the noble ones, but there's other common ones. They got Pinot Noir too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have a Sylvaner, which normally the ones that I've had that I've really liked have been sort of like Pinot Blanc, in the sense where it's not tremendously aromatic, but they have like a really like steely sort of like minerality driving through it, and it's sort of light on its feet and really crisp and like mouth-watering acidity, and it's just really really refreshing. And this one has a bit of a like, you know when you have like actually it's some other stuff's starting to come out. You know when you have a happens to me with Shannon a lot, where you have it where it's a little I don't want to say like oxidized or too old or whatever. I've had it on Shannons that are a little too old, but it gets that like quince kind of flavor to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this kind of has that, but it's a 2017.
I would say that this Pinot Blanc actually has a bit of that going on.
Yeah.
Like that mealiness. Like
Yeah,
quince
yeah.
when it doesn't have that perfect like tang, like the
Yeah.
mealy side of quince as opposed to the tangy side of quince.
Yeah. Maybe it's a 2017 thing. I don't know. But I mean, it's not bad. It's just maybe it needs more time in bottle. Maybe it needs to just open up more. Maybe it's too cold. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm underwhelmed at this because normally when I have Alsatian wines, I'm just completely in awe of how clarified and well composed they are. Like the acid is just like this screamer that can hold up to anything. Like, so a great example is like I had a Sylvaner from Alsace that was like, it was a Grand Cru Alsatian Sylvaner that was 15% alcohol, and it had something like I want to say like significant RS. Like I think it had like 6 grams of RS, like noticeable RS, maybe higher than that. But like significant RS, and the wine's acid still like hit like a fucking brick. Like it was It was crazy wine, super
Yeah.
cool wine. It was great. Like it was so damn good. It
Yeah.
tasted at the same time like a dessert wine with wild acid, and then like I was having it at this tasting with a bunch of people, and then someone was like, "Yeah, it is 15% alcohol." And we were just like, "Oh god,
Yeah.
that's dangerous."
That is dangerous. Yeah, and what a lot of people talk about with whatever, especially with Rieslings, like Rieslings or ice wines or Trockenbeer Auslaces or beer Auslaces or whatever. They're like, oh yeah, no, it's or even with Sauterne too. They're like, oh yeah, the concentration of the sugar is so crazy, but then the what makes it truly great is the balance between that and the acidity. Everyone's like, oh yeah, the acidity is so beautiful on it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of, I feel like that balance is probably what makes it really special, because if you just have like, I don't know, you just have like a glass of maple syrup or something, or like a spoonful of maple syrup, you're like, yeah, this is gross. But then if you add enough like lemon juice in there or whatever, you're like, oh wow, this is pleasant in terms of how the richness and the acid balancing out.
Yeah.
But then likewise, if you have like, or I guess that's why like really good, heavily aged balsamic vinegar is so delicious. Aside from like how good the flavors are and stuff, but that balance between sweetness and acidity is really just pretty amazing.
Yeah, and they can do crazy things in Alsace with that achieve stuff like that. That's nuts, and it's like how I don't know of anyone around or stumbling over all this. Balsamic vinegar like that is pretty rare because like it takes pretty specific conditions to pull that off and actually make it good. Because you could try to do that, and like 9 times out of 10 you'd end up with something that people are like, this is gross.
Oh yeah.
And one of the really cool things about Alsace is that it like it's one of those special regions that I think is full of, through a weird set of like historical circumstances, basically the perfect varietals. Because most of the wine that comes out of Alsace is like just bonkers good, but that's also a generalization. Like it's like any region, there are going to be duds, but but yeah, that balance of like crazy acidity, and then the fact that there are some places where they can get stuff like super ripe, to the point where they have it in balance where it's just going to continue developing. It's going to refine down to having sugars that mean it can get to 15% alcohol, but like it's still got acid in it. It's just like super special. Like, I don't know. If you tried pulling that off in most other regions, you'd end up with you just wouldn't end up with wine because your grapes would fall off the vines.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's cool. It's one of those places where you certainly can make things you can't make other places, and you can't make things you can other places. Like, I know certain people who I won't even say that, but a lot of people don't like Pinot Noirs from Alsace.
I've never tried one.
I had one, but I think it was Hugo maybe, but I went to the store and I got it. I took it home and it was corked, and I was like, oh damn, okay. So I brought it back, and then I was like, oh, he's corked. I'm like, all right, so I get another one. So I grabbed another one, brought it back, and that one was corked, and I was like, oh shit. So I brought it back, and he's like, all right, like don't. He wasn't like, oh, do you want another one? He was like, all right, don't get that. Put it back, because the guy's super nice. I know him. He's like, all right, just don't get that. Like, get something else, and then like I'll get another case in or something, and then when I do, I'll let you know. And I haven't got another one since, but I've had Pinots from like colder regions, like colder than Burgundy, like Pinot from like Sancerre or something. It's super delicious. It's so good. And some from Germany are so fucking good. And so I mean, you can do it in colder climates, and I heard there's a place that's going to be around in like 8-10 years. Man, in New York, man, their Pinot's supposed to be fucking delicious.
In there. No, dude, it's going to be funny when like the Ahr Valley is considered a hot climate for Pinot.
Yeah. No, it's
as this warms up, it's settling into a place that I'm enjoying more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Sylvaner is too. I think it just needed time, and we're just used to being able to open stuff and pour it and be like, "It's delicious." But I think decanting whites is a big thing that I used to be like, "Yeah, whatever, fuck it, doesn't matter," and like I want to experience the whole wine, or whatever. But there is, sure, but it is also interesting to be like, how much did I enjoy it when I first had it versus when it sat out for like an hour?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not like there were things that weren't present in it. After it sat out, then were in it when I first opened it. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like reds are different, and especially like reds that have any like, I guess wines that have any age on them are different because they're just different things.
Yeah.
But newer wines, I feel like you can be pretty abrasive with them. Like you can just totally dump them out into something.
You should be, because you want them to oxidize, because you want to get some
do the Molly Duper shake.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's copyrighted. I think that's a bit like singing the happy birthday song. You know?
Yep. I also have a Pinot Gris from Alsace. I can say this one because I do like it a lot. Willem, Willm, and it's their Pinot Gris Reserve in 2018, and it's like their Pinot Gris.
Willm.
LLM, yeah.
Oh,
their Pinot Gris, their Gewürztraminer, their Riesling, like all that stuff. You can find their wines for under $10. And they're delicious.
Oh yeah, they're one of the classic like Alsace labels that you just see all over the place. Like,
and that
super old world.
You can find them everywhere. Yeah, you can find them everywhere, and they're delicious. They're fantastic. There's that Gewürztraminer I was telling you about, that like Grand Cru one that I had from like 2008 or whatever, that was fucking amazing. That's this producer, but it's one of their Grand Crus, and it's like the label's green. It looks different, but
see, that's a very good example of like what you can get a hold of that I just never see, which is like,
oh yeah,
I mean, I bought the only Alsatian wine I could, given all the constraints of quarantine and all that.
China virus.
What did you call it?
The China virus.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man. I was thinking earlier today about how like a little over the top my fucking David Duke impersonation was the other night. And you know what?
I forgot about that.
Yeah. The degree to which I expect our listeners to be able to comprehend irony is I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I expect them to do the same with me. But even if they don't, fuck it.
Yeah, I don't know if we should be uploading Pauschwitz yet. Like, I don't know if we're at that point.
Oof. Yeah, that one. I mean, I'm not even gonna say what I responded to you with, because that was I was proud of myself for how quickly I came up with that, but
Me too.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
like, damn,
that was fucked up.
That was good.
Yeah, no. Like between us guys, super proud of that. But damn.
That was yep. Nice.
I might actually be an irredeemable person.
You should shoot out to Ashley and be like, hey, Tom wants some feedback on like this like drawing you did this morning. And she'll be like, okay, cool, yeah. Like, what is it? And then you show it to her, and she'll be like, oh. She'll be like, the mustache needs a little more shading underneath. Like, okay, good to know.
Yeah, he'll appreciate that.
Yeah. But anyway, so the Willem, the Pinot Gris is it's got it's like pretty classic Pinot. You can tell right away when you pour it out. It's like got a pinkish sort of hue to it. Yeah,
that's kind of cool. Do you know anything about its a vinification practice?
No, I mean, but the internet can probably tell us. Willm Pinot Gris Reserve 2018. I don't know. I assume they must pick it when it's pretty ripe. I mean, it does have some like RS to it.
Okay.
It smells pretty rich. It kind of has that quince thing too, but it's not.
See, when Pinot Gris has that, I take it as a like a potentially good sign. Mm-hmm. Because with Pinot Gris, the mealy thing or the tangy thing.
I mean, it's tangier than it is mealy, but it's like it's a good balance where it's like ripe and fresh. Like I wouldn't age this, but it has good minerality where it tastes like you're biting into a good pear, because a good pear just inherently its texture is a little mealy just because it is what it is.
Yeah, no, but a good pear, man.
Oh God, it's delicious. There's nothing like it.
A good pear is one of those things that, and it's one of those things that's so annoying because a good pear is transcendental, and almost every pear, like the same pear the next day, will just make you want to fucking,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Say it.
Shit on a copier.
On a what?
Copier.
Oh, a copier, like a copy machine. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Try to. Sure. I'm saying like a great pear will make you want to have one of those office parties where everyone gets drunk enough to photocopy their ass and celebrate the fact that you had a really good pear, and you're just like, it's like a Christmas party, and then you end up having a threesome with like your boss and her secretary or something. But a bad pear will like be the version of that night where you accidentally shit on the copier and then like try to proposition your boss while your ass is like just smashed through the glass of the copying machine, and you're just sitting there with shards of glass sticking into your ass through the shit that you took by accident while trying to photocopy your ass to be cheeky. And your boss is like, "Why are you doing this?" And you're like, "I just waited one day too long."
Like I wanted to impress you.
That's not even fair. Like a pear the next day is still plenty good, but like
right.
But yeah, just like the day a pear is perfectly ripe, when it still has those like sharp kind, like there's this version of acidity that can exist in a pear. It's very, very cool, and something that Alsatian wines can manage in a way that I think like Alsatian Pinot Gris can manage in an almost unique way. Like I know of Pinot Gris from other regions that do it, but certainly in terms of like Pinot Grigio as it's thought of from Italy, tends to come off in that like like faux pineapple flavoring kind of space.
Yeah, no, this is good. This is really good. I actually think I might like this better than the Sylvaner actually. So it's 100% hand harvested, extended and soft pressing. 4 to 6 week controlled ferment in stainless steel, maturing on the fine leaves for another 2 to 3 months. So like nothing. But
4 to 6 weeks fermentation.
Yeah.
And long soft pressing is probably where the color comes from.
Yeah.
That's a good long fermentation time though.
Yeah. Alcohol 12.94. God forbid they say 13. Residual sugar 10.27 grams per liter.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and then total acidity 3.59 grams per liter, and but what it kind of reminds me of in some ways, it kind of reminds me of the hard press. You know how that had?
Oh yeah.
Did I tell you I had a bottle of that like I don't know a couple months ago, and it was fucking delicious. It was so good. It was back when I still had an Instagram. I
saw that on your Instagram. Yeah.
That was really good. I still have 2 more. I'm so excited. They're delicious.
Dude, that was that stuff was really good. Well, the wine that it ended up going into is also
100%
fantastic.
And I'm very excited to have it. But there's something about that hard press that was just so nerdy and mineral and fleshy and that. That wine like. I'm glad you have bottles of it, because that wine is like, I have this impression of being able to go to a New York wine bar with a bottle of wine like that and just cleaning up.
Yeah, that's literally the phrase that was in my head. just clean up. Just walk in there and like anything I want the whole night. Just saying to somebody like, I made this, and they're like, whoa. And like everyone in the room would just be like, hold on, this is both that nerdy, funky stuff that we're all Instagramming about, but also good, and we just like drinking it, and we don't have to pretend to ourselves that we're more interesting than we are.
There's still sediment in the bottom of the bottle. It's got green duct tape on it with handwriting on it. Like, it's got it all, man. It's it. That's
that wine literally is the wet dream of every blogging wannabe, Som living in New York trying to get by. Which I shouldn't make fun of because, like, did I tell you the story of the friend, like the 1 degree of separation acquaintance I had? She was a good friend of good friends of mine who was she was, I don't want to be too specific about like where I live and work, even though we've kind of given that away, but like, the good restaurant that we would just walk to to grab lunch.
Yeah.
I was there one day and just, looked over at a table and was like, I went to college with that person, which, was like, I went to college with that person 3,000 miles away from where we are right now. Yeah. And Julie and my dad were both like, what? And I was like, yeah, she was really good friends with like a good friend of mine. Because like I was really good friends with this dude named I was really good friends with this guy after working a summer with him in a theater shop, and his girlfriend in particular was like super tight with this woman, but like she and I never like chatted all that much. It was just like that kind of like just but I'm like, as we were leaving, I was like, hey, did you like, how's it going? And she was like, holy shit, how are you? And I was like, I'm fine. What's up? And she's like, oh, I'm a Som now. I live in New York, but I'm out here visiting my sister. This is my sister, and like we're both visiting our other sister who lives in Portland. I was like, wow, crazy. You're a Som? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, I make wine. What? I was like, yeah, I make wine like 300 yards that way. And she's like, whoa. I was like, what are you doing down here? She's like, well, we're wine tasting, but like one of the appointments we wanted to have this afternoon fell through. And I was like, you should come over to our cellar and I'll do a wine tasting for you.
That's sweet.
And so she walked over, and then we like did a tasting, but it was this like crazy like whole thing of, it was just like, so what have you been up to since college? And she's like, oh, just like living in New York, trying to like make it as a Som. I was like, interesting. That's cool. Do you have any questions about like how wine is actually made? And she was like,
not really.
No. None of them ever do. No. It was just this really funny experience of like, I feel like we're having just the opposite ends of experience on this like industry, like in terms of career paths for people our age, and especially like where we went to college. Like your perspective on this whole thing is the complete opposite end of mine. But this is funny as fuck, and so like, through that conversation, she was just telling me about like the culture of like that thing in New York City, and I was like, fascinating. I want to go just meet all your friends and fucking quietly judge them the entire time.
No, I thought you said, I want to meet all your friends and fuck them.
No.
That's what you're saying, yeah.
No, I want to meet all your friends and
Every
just be like, wow, you're a bunch of fucking yahoos.
No, here's the thing. You don't want to meet them.
No, I know I don't.
It'll make you sick to your stomach.
So the thing that made that whole experience, like in from my perspective, like part of it that made it really enjoyable was like one of the first things she said is like, yeah, I feel like the next thing I need to do is like work a harvest. I was like, oh, cool. If that's your perspective, like, nice. Like that's solid. Yeah. Like I have huge respect for that. Like getting to a certain point and being like, oh, I should go like learn how this happens. Sincerely, and then decide what part of this whole industry I want to actually like exist in.
Right.
But
that's cool.
Yeah, but it was just the funniest. Like, it was so weird, man. It was such a weird, like, serendipitous experience.
That's funny, man. That's kind of like the opposite route that I'm taking.
Like
her being a Som, being like, I want to learn how
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I don't.
winemaking
So
works.
I don't want to say that she's taking her. She was doing WSET at the time, and I
Oh,
don't
okay.
want to. I don't want to like. I'm sure she's like. Well, I don't. I have no idea where her like certifications are or any of that stuff. But I think you might have more certifications than she does.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it translates.
I mean, it doesn't translate very well. Like,
Yeah.
I think. I mean, most of the people I've talked to, like getting your WSET 3 is something that is done by people who have their WSET 3 know a lot and are very like adroit, but that won't get you jobs in the same way that having just your fucking SOM certification will. So.
Yeah.
But the scopes of knowledge are also pretty wildly different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But sorry, that whole thing kind of went off the rails. But it was just I'm surprised I didn't tell you that story while you were here because it's just one of the most fucking funny serendipitous. Like, oh hey,
Yeah.
I remember being at like some pretty weird parties with you and not really knowing who you were, but or not really knowing you, but knowing who you were. I guess is the right way to say that.
Here's the thing, Boone. You did tell me the story.
Ah,
but,
God damn it, Tom.
But that's mostly, that's not mostly, but that's a good part of our friendship. Just like me telling you things that I've told you like 3 times already, and then like both of us being like, I know you like telling the story, and I like hearing the story, and I'm here for it. You know.
Thank
That's
you, man.
really what this is, because Lord knows we've told each other the same thing over and over again, many times, and it does not.
That's sort of the perfect type of friendship, isn't it?
It is. It's great. I love it. Yeah.
Ever tell you the story of how much I hate my job?
Did I ever tell you the story of how much I used to hate my job?
Yeah. Yeah.
Touche.
Yeah, that's a good point, my friend.
Yeah.
Did you ever tell me the story of you being a fucking expense?
I am. That's good. That's great.
Yeah. Well, you know. The good news
Turns
is...
out, hey, Uncle Sam is looking at your bank account.
Yeah,
Turns
man.
out.
Turns out. The good news is...
But yeah.
Yeah.
Pinot Gris. Oh yeah. Anyway, so I was saying this Pinot Gris is similar to that hard press in the way that it has that sort of. I don't want to say kind
Truly
of
complex phenolics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say in a similar way that I think when people describe like phenolic bitterness, I would say it's like grapefruit, but not as like assertive. So
Okay, so it doesn't have the same like sharpness as grapefruit.
right, but it
But
has
the
that sort of
texture.
like it has the texture and that sort of
Right.
like cling on the back of your tongue that grapefruit does.
Mm-hmm. Now that you're saying that, I'm realizing that what I'm drinking also has a quality of that. Sorry, interruption.
Yeah. No, don't worry about it. Yeah. And I think that's my favorite form of phenolic bitterness, rather than just being like, what the fuck is that? But I think a lot of Sicilian whites and good Pinot Gris have that in a way that I really like.
Yeah.
And it makes, I feel like phenolic bitterness is the key, not the key, but for every non-Chardonnay, I feel like is one of the all right, no, that's a stupid way to say it. For those kinds of ones,
I see
like,
where you're going with that statement,
Yeah.
and I agree with you before you've actually made it.
yeah. The one of the most important things for wine pairing with food is where if you have that phenolic bitterness in it, it can hold up to richer dishes. Like I remember one of the first couple times I had in at Bianco, I was like, okay, yeah, like I tasted it and I was like, oh, all right. It was like a tasting at like a wine shop. I was like, yeah, this is this is good. Like, I like this, but I don't know about that bitter thing. But like, I think this will probably go well. I think I was doing like just cooking like scallops or something. I was like, all right, yeah, like this will, I'll do it. And then it ended up being so fucking good because that like, that sort of like richness, that sweet richness that scallops have, the phenolic bitterness like matched up to it. It's almost like the sweet and acidic like interplay for late harvest wines. It's a similar way for, I feel like, savory aspects with white wine. Like you can't do, I mean you could, but it wouldn't really work a shard with like some like rustic Italian pasta.
No.
Like it wouldn't really make any sense.
No, that would be, yeah. I mean, White Berg will go with anything, but
I mean, it's not going to be terrible, but it's not going to like really click and be like, oh fuck, this is great. I feel like some of the best wine pairings. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Oh no.
Okay, some of the best wine pairings can be two very simple things. Like they don't have to be like, oh, the best of this and the best of this, but it's like you don't have to go out and buy like Edmond Vitin and Sancerre to have with like, I don't know, like the most prestigious goat cheese producer. You just get like regular goat cheese. It's like half a decent bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, have them together. You're like, holy shit, this is delicious.
Yeah, it's like how I think Pinot Gris pairs like amazingly well with like curried chicken. Like I think Pinot Gris can pair very well with curry. Because curry, I think curry. I personally am of the opinion that curry can be a kind of complicated flavor to like pair wine with, but
totally.
That bitterness in Pinot Gris can provide this cool like harmony to the base note in curry that ends up playing really well.
Which kind of curry? Like what country?
Oh, I was thinking just like I was thinking like Indian curry, like classic
curry.
Like, yeah. Like
nice.
That like, curry that, is also mixed in with like a lot of cumin or something.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be delicious.
So to the point you were making, one of the best, the ultimate like moment I've ever had of like drinking wine and the wine itself was the memory I had was I think a story I've told you several times about like a Chardonnay from Burgundy that was just like it was a Chassagne Montrachet that just like poof, my brain was like, oh yeah, this wine is the experience. This is everything, like everything that could be happening right now. On the inverse of that, the most memorable moment I've had of a wine pairing was scallops, and I think I've told you this story as well. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but like it was at this dinner that got out of hand where we were just like Spanish. No, I did talk about it.
You talked it on the podcast.
Yeah. So there was a white Spanish wine that we ordered that night that we got during the meal when we were served some scallops. And this white Spanish wine, and I forget exactly what varietals were in it, but I could probably look it up. I'm just being lazy. That wine was so devoid of like fruit. And it had mineral characteristics to it, but like it had this weird phenolic bitterness. And it worked so well with the scallops. It was just unreal. It was this completely salty mineral, like not like the sharp, not like table salt, but like complex salt, like brine confusion that was going on with the two that was so compelling. Like it's just one of the most amazing
like
moments.
ocean salty
just like an amazing moment of like having the scallop in my mouth and taking a sip of the wine, and the way that the two related to each other was completely transcendent in this like it was the probably cheapest bottle of wine we had that evening, and the scallops were phenomenal, but it was just one of those little special moments. Like that stands out to me more than like I have several memories of the night, but in terms of a memory of flavor that I have, that is the one I have. Like that experience. That was the same night as the corked bottle. That was I think the context I told that story in. But
I don't think we actually ever used that episode. I think it's still sitting on.
Oh yeah.
Good one.
But yeah, and that's one of the things that's so cool about Alsace is like you get these, you can get these wines that have this ability to pair with food generally that's phenomenal, but then specifically with things that basically nothing else can pair with, like,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah, exactly. I remember doing, my friend Steve, doing, this was one of the first times, I don't think this was the first time we were doing like artichokes or asparagus because it was like during the spring. And he's like, yeah, like bring a wine. And apparently those are both like notoriously difficult to pair things with.
Oh yeah.
Because whatever. So I brought a bottle of, I've the whole like what grows together goes together kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I was reading the wine Bible, I don't know, a couple of years ago, whatever. They were talking about, oh yeah, in Alsace there's this big festival they have every year, and or not festival, but it's like when it's asparagus season, there's just you'll just go out to eat and you just get a big, just a plate or a bowl or whatever, just asparagus and like cheese sauce essentially, just creamy cheesy asparagus, and everybody's just happy as a fucking clam, and I would be too. I would love to go during cheese season or asparagus season, but
that was actually something I was just reading about how.
Oh really?
Alsatian wines can pair with asparagus.
Oh yeah. And so asparagus and artichokes are both hard to pair with, and so I was like, all right, I'll bring a bottle of Sylvaner. So I brought an Albert Boxler Sylvaner, which is still the favorite Sylvaner I've ever had, and it was like so good. And he was like, holy shit, how'd you fucking do that? And I was like, I don't know, I just fucking I read a book and made an assumption. And I can't say that reading any book and making any assumption based on it is the best idea. But in this case, it worked out. I can think of a couple books right now that it would not be the best thing to do. But yeah. Sylvaner and asparagus and artichokes go very well together. And, I think it's because it's sort of, it's kind of neutral, but not in a boring way, But I guess it's the kind of thing where every wine, like, I might not like this in this context, like that Larry Edwards Sauv Blanc, right? That day, I was like, I don't really like this, whatever. The next day, I forget, I made some pasta dish. Oh, I think I made like carbonara or something. I don't know, but it had no, I don't think it was, I don't remember. But it had a whole bunch of this like cheddar made out of goat cheese in it, and goat cheese Sauv Blanc together. It's one of the of the classics, and I had it with that, and I think it was this it's like, imagine, all right, so like it's somewhere between a cheddar and a Parmesan cheese, but it's made out of goat milk. Fantastic. So that's sort of like richness with the salt and stuff. So we did a
that sounds awesome.
I did carbonara. So just bacon, and then we cooked pasta, and then you grate a whole bunch of cheese into the eggs and a bunch of black pepper, and then you off the heat after the pasta goes in, whatever, then you throw that in, you stir it up until the eggs are just tempered, and then you take it out, and had that with that wine. I was like, oh yeah, no, this is fucking delicious. Like, I don't like this wine separately as much, but then I have it with that, and it's great because the high alcohol content needs to be paired up with the richness of the food and the flavors and the phenolic bitterness and blah 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 blah. So so it does, just because something you may not necessarily like it in a certain context doesn't mean you don't like it, or it can't be good, or there's no way that you would ever like it. But any of these wines, we could have these with, I don't know, something tomorrow and be like, oh fuck, this is really good. Yeah. So
well, it feeds back into that whole conversation we were having about points with the Shiraz. Stuff is like and it applies to all of the suggestions we're making about pairing stuff with stuff. Is like, if you have an instinct about something, like if you drink a wine and your brain goes like, I kind of want to eat this now, like, do it. Like, save that bottle, make that dish, have them together, and it'll fucking kick ass. Like,
fucking kick ass.
And if it doesn't, fuck it. You fucked up. You should feel bad about yourself. You're a low quality person. Like,
you're
all those other things that
scum.
Wine magazines tend to indicate to you in the ways that car advertisements do. What?
I was gonna say, do you want to see this cellar tracker review I found on this wine?
Yes, please.
So this is the Sylvaner, which is turning out to be lovely.
Mm-hmm. I should go to Cellar Tracker and find this wine that I'm drinking.
This is a 2015. It says, or the one on here says 2015 that I'm looking at the review of. Scant fruit, bracing acid, some industrial notes. 85 points. Like, what is industrial notes? What is that in the wine industry?
Nah, that's somebody not knowing how to just say diesel.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, that's it.
But I love those ones.
That's somebody thinking they're good at writing.
Yeah. We need to start that Instagram up.
Oh, right. Oh, no, I worked on that. I think I set it up, and I have the account info written down somewhere.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for some reason I wasn't able to post anything, but I'll look back into it.
What did you make it? What name did you give it?
I think I put it under Kirk Taint.
Kirk Taint?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
And that'll be good. Yeah, so just pick any wine off, off the shelf
so
any random day. Like don't buy the wine, but just take a picture of it and then write it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna do it with bottles of smart water too.
Or cooking wine or something. That'd be great.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I saw a thing in
or like a bottle of vinegar being like, it was a bit acidic for my taste.
Yeah. Or just like a picture of a pork sausage being like, hard to drink. Had to put it in the blender to aerate it properly.
Or like a dead fish being like, tried to let it breathe, didn't do much.
That's so good. So, legitimately something that immediately needs to go on this. Today, I saw Robert Mondavi makes a Chardonnay that they age in bourbon barrels.
Oh my god, dude. Fuck, that's disgusting.
Yeah, I almost bought a bottle just to see what it tasted like.
Although,
honestly, now that I've told you about it, I have to. I have to.
You got to do it. But what if they put it through Mellow and they make sure it gets a ton of that diacetyl stuff, and then it just ends up tasting like just delicious butterscotch.
I mean, legitimately, it probably tastes like, I don't know. It probably tastes insane. I am so excited to find out what it tastes like. I don't know if it's insane good or insane. I'm 95% sure it'd be insane bad, but it's like,
it would be a great wine pairing with that. Or a food pairing with that, rather.
Yeah.
Kettle corn.
Oh, marron. That was it. So, legitimately a thing that and I was being a bit of a fucking asshole about it, but an early and this is a whole other conversation that we should have off mic at some point, but I think I've actually told you part of the story. But I was given a Syrah by a friend of mine when I was just getting into the wine industry, and he was like, "Yeah, come back to me with food pairings and a review." And he was kind of joking, but I drank the wine. It was a good bottle of wine, but I came back to him and was like, "Yeah, this would pair really well with an al pastor burrito," and I wasn't even really kidding, because it would have that would have been great. It's domestic Syrah that was well made and a good bottle of wine. And while I was drinking it, I was like, that burrito I had 2 days ago, this would go so well with that. I think that's one of the things that scares people off from again, it being part of my whole mentality about wine is people get scared off from.
Oh yeah.
People get scared off from the just the whole beast of the thing, but food pairings and wine it's all about making both things better, and it doesn't have to be that complicated.
Right.
If you're drinking a really great bottle of Riesling and your brain, just some part of it's what I really want right now with this is Funyuns. You should get a bag of Funyuns and just go to town.
Funyuns. That'd be really funny if we just picked out espresso flavored Lay's, and we were like, "This is a great wine pairing with this,"
I mean, legitimately, the wine I'm drinking right now, I think would go really well with some jalapeno potato chips I've got.
Nice.
Yeah. I think those might just smother it. And that's the other problem is some wine pairings, usually it's the food that'll do this, but it's when people an industry thing that it is very legitimate is people ragging on having chocolate with wine, because chocolate immediately shuts down a huge amount of your perception of tannin and really like fruit subtlety in the wine. Like all of the sweetness that you get out of like fruit is occupied by the like chocolate. If you eat chocolate and then try to drink wine with it, you will get mostly just like the acidity of the wine. Honestly, like it's a weird. It's not a good thing to pair wine with. As opposed to cheese, which is the other classic thing, which is like almost always a good idea. Like there's always some cheese that'll go well with wine.
Right. Yeah.
But
No, totally, man. Chocolate, it has to be, oh man, actually, there's this place in, what was it? Penn Woods, I think, winery. And when I was in Jersey, and I was still trying to figure out, like, oh, maybe I can fucking find a winery around here to work for or something. Penn's Woods, so Penns.
Penis Woods?
Woods.
Sorry.
Penis Woods.
Yeah.
Pen, and then
Penis
sub
Woods?
out the I for Ben's Woods.
Ben's
You
Woods.
like Ben's Woods?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Pencil, so like Penns Woods. They're in Pennsylvania, and after all the places I went to within that fucking, I don't know, hour radius of the place I was at, that was the only place they were making like pretty good wine, and it seemed like they didn't really know what they were doing, but they were on the right track to figuring it out.
Nice.
Like they were like, oh yeah, no, and we did soil analysis to figure out like, oh, this should have been planted here, so we did, and then like. But then we talked to somebody else and they said we shouldn't plant this here, so we like ripped this up and we're replanting this because this soil type and the drainage here, and we shouldn't have planted things here because it doesn't drain well and that. But it seems like somebody just planted all that shit there, and afterwards was like, mostly because probably they just wanted a winery like ASAP, and now they're coming through being like, oh, well, maybe this wasn't a good idea, but they're actually going through the trouble of actually fucking doing it properly, which is great. And they made their Merlot's really good, and they actually they had a late harvest Merlot that I tried, and it was fucking delicious. Did you ever have those brandied like the cherries? They're like covered in chocolate. It's like we get this chocolate around like around Christmas time. We don't get them all the time. We get them every year. It was like a fucking super treat, but now it's like, oh. You never realize when you were a kid, like, you could go to the store, or like it would be like it's like, oh, fucking super special treat, get that for like a bar of candy today,
Yeah.
And now you can just go to the fucking store and just buy it whenever you want.
Yeah, it's one of the quickly diminishing joys of adulthood that ends up being
like,
one of the major depressing qualities of adulthood.
Exactly. But anyway, these brandied cherries are still fucking delicious, and so it tasted like like a brandied cherry. Like cherries soaked in brandy, covered in delicious dark chocolate. And it's like, this is exactly the kind of fucking thing that I want to have with chocolate. And whatever, I'll let it get a little bit more age on it. It doesn't even say what vintage it is, but I think it's like a 2016 or something. But I'll let it get some age on it, let it get some more like tertiary notes. But in drinking it right now, just if I had a bunch of those, I would just drink that and be the happiest little boy.
Nice.
So... And there's no reason to like not do that. Another thing to talk about with aging, where it's like, people be like, oh, older wine's better or whatever. It's like, it depends. If you like it, yeah. If you don't, no.
Yeah.
So
it's a whole like complicated. It's one of those other complicated conversations of. It has value as a concept and it's meaningful, but. It's also not, a guarantee of how you will enjoy things most. It's just one of those factors that it's good to understand. It's good to know what age does to certain things. But a great example in my mind is like, I don't like aged Chardonnays. Chardonnay can age great, can age very, very well, but in most experiences I've had, prefer Chardonnays that are, under 5 years bottle age.
Mm-hmm.
I've had Chardonnays that are older than that, and they're really cool. But in terms of like what I want to drink most of the time, like I feel like I'm getting an education whenever I have Chardonnays that's like Chardonnays that are older than that. But in terms of what I want to drink and think about food pairings with and stuff like that, I prefer things that are younger.
Yeah.
You know, but that's not to say I don't really value every time I get to have a Chardonnay that's 10 years old or more, because that's an interesting experience, and I've had a few that are mind-blowing, and you want to keep that in mind, because knowing the right things about the right regions and the right vintages, you can occasionally come across a bottle of older stuff that you're like, well, this may be worth taking a chance on, and you'll have some amazing experience with it. That's the other problem with aged bottles, is like, unless you bought them when they were young and then cellared them yourself, you are taking kind of a gamble, unless you're buying it from somebody. Even when you're buying it from somebody that you trust, that doesn't necessarily mean they bought it when it came out and have been holding on to it since then. So just because this whole thing, which is, it really goes back to the conversation we were having on the Tempranillo episode, or the Rioja episode, precisely, or specifically, not precisely. It's like, that's a different ballgame, because you can find older stuff that is older because they held on to it, like the producer held on to it, which is also the case with some of the like more high clout Burgundy houses, but you're then going to be spending more money than most of us have on those things.
Yeah, Dom does that too. They do like P2 and P3 releases where it's just extended releases.
Quite a few champagne houses do like not necessarily regular versions of that, but certainly with good vintages you'll find like re-releases or like longer tirage releases of certain things.
Yeah. But I don't know, dude. Who fucking knows?
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing with all of this, is like, it's not about knowing, it's about experiencing.
Right.
It's one of the great things about Alsace. It's like, you can buy these wines for less than $20 and have a hell of an experience. Or have an experience that makes you go like, this isn't like what I wanted, but I'm still pouring it in my glass because like it's intriguing. Because I've drunk half this bottle, and I'll be honest, every time I pour more into my glass, it gets better.
Yeah, exactly. It's delicious.
Yeah.
It's a really good one.
Yeah, it's still like, I still have critiques of it, and I think most of those critiques are pretty like endemic to Pinot Blanc for me. And I have yet to have an experience with, like, I think it'll have to be a Pinot Blanc that's kind of out of the norm to shut me up and make me feel something amazing. And I like, part of my problem with that perspective, personally, is that like I have several Pinot Gris in my mind that I have huge affection for, but I'm saying that in a world awash in Pinot Gris that is just, not exceptional or very good.
Yeah.
I'm just aware of what it can be, and I hold it to that standard, and I don't really mess around with Pinot Gris that's below that standard. And that makes my conversations with people who, like, are wine conscious kind of funny, because they'll be like, Pinot Gris is just not the varietal I really get behind. And I'm like, no, I've got like 3 producers in mind, and I can't really give you anything beyond that, but their Pinot Gris slaps.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's like that. Like, I like varietals that you don't have to feel that way about. I feel like, so just a little stinger on this episode. Alsace, fascinating region because it's right on the border of France and France. Sorry, I was halfway through burping when I said that. France and Germany. Super thin little like mountainous region along the Rhine River. Parts of it are along the Rhine River. fascinating geography, fascinating history, yada, 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 world wars, all the shifting borders, all that stuff. If you're interested in all of that, go look it up, because we couldn't possibly have covered it in the hour and 20 minutes that this episode is going to be. We could have tried, and maybe you would have learned something. But you know what? That's not what this podcast is for. It's not for you to learn something. It's for you to feel empowered to go learn something, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what this podcast is for. Fuck it. It's not for you. It's for us. Fuck you.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
But Alsace, border France and Germany, fascinating region, great white wines, interesting varietals. If you really care, go to the Wikipedia page. If you really, really care, buy wine from Alsace. It won't be that expensive. It'll be great. Yeah. You'll enjoy it. And if you don't, fucking, you know what? I'd say sue us, but